Welcome to the Use Case Management Training webinar, a service provided by Building Smart International. This webinar explains how to create and edit a use case.
Welcome to this use case management webinar. Today, we will explain you how you're going to create a use case. To do that, you must be a logged-in user in the use case management website, and you must have access to this collaboration space. If you don't have any access to it, please ask your local administrator. He will gain you access. Before we start, I'd like to give you some more information about the training website. You will find the training website on the BSI Use Case Management, Training and Documentation, and then choose UCM Training website. Here you will have the link to the training website. Simply open this link here and start with the training. Here you have a lot of information, for example, how you get started with registration and user rights and so on. You have the webinar, you have a quick guide, you have information about document categories and the training itself. Here, step by step, explained how you have to create a use case. But let's go back to the use case management website. Now we create the use case. As mentioned, go to the co-collaboration space. Here on the left-hand side, you will find all libraries, your libraries where you are in. Here, this is the use case management training, for example. It starts with a yellow here, and you can choose the right libraries. You have, for example, we choose now the library group 3, and here we create a use case. First of all, click Add Use Cases. So here you are in the first menu where you give the basic settings for the use case. For example, a title, use case, training use case. You can select a category of the document, free form. This gives you certain possibilities for case studies or technical reports and so on. Or we create a use case or an IDM, and you simply give the title use case here. You have also to select the lifecycle stages. There is a selection list here. We choose the ISO stage 22263. But you can, of course, also choose one of your local lifecycle stages. And then the same for disciplines. Here you have a list of different disciplines. We select OmniClass table 33. Then you save this one. And once you've saved this use case settings here, you are basically ready to create a use case now. Here you have the menu buttons. So we have the metadata where we're going to start with. Then you have, according to the IDM standard, you have the use case definition, you have the process definition and the exchange requirements. You have also the possibility to give more information about software tools and services. And we have here a changelog. Let's start with the metadata. First of all, you can give information to your colleagues from the project. Here we have a sort key, and you can give a note. This is our first use case, for example, and you can save this here. The backend information you will find if you go back here to the group. Here now you see this is the sort key 20, and this is our first use case, is the information you can give to your team. This is not really displayed once you publish a use case, it's simply for the backend. We go back to edit mode, and now we're going to create the metadata. You see here backend information, you see what kind of logo you have, you see the project groups, the members of the project groups, and then we start first with the identification. How you're going to identify a use case. Always press on edit, and then you can, for example, use an own identifier from your project, ID 4567. or 4532. This is your internal identification from your project. Then you give a title. This is already here, and you have the possibility to give a short description to this title. So this should be not too long, but it better explains the title of a use case. Then you have the status of your project. You can say, okay, this is, for example, on the review. We have a maturity stage where you say, is this use case simply Outlook, how it should be? Is it an example, or is it proven, really a use case with a lot of applications in the field already? So we take example here. And you can say, okay, my different stages, IDM stages, how far are they? Let's choose draft, and draft for all of them. And then next step is, who is the publisher? So you have here a drop-down list. And in our case, let's select Building Smart International. And we can select who is the author of this use case. Also here you have the selection list from your project team in this group number 3. You can select this one. And if you find not the right name, or if some non-registered users also participated on this use case, you can say Joe Dewey, something like that. And if you save that, then you created the identification. What you see here now is the version number. The version number is depending on the changelog. Let's go here to create a version number on the changelog, add an entry. And since this is our first entry, we say this is the version 1.0. You can choose a class. If it's the first one, we have added something, but also you can choose changed or fixed or security class. And then you say, okay, first publication. And you see here now you created a changelog. And of course, if you change something on this use case, you always should add an additional changelog. If we go back to the metadata, you will see here now version number 1.0.0. If you add another number to the changelog, this number here will change. Then what you see here, we have quite a number of the predefined tags. So the tagging is important for the website to find a use case. The predefined tags you cannot change, of course, but you have a number of different tags where you can say, okay, this one I have to select, or I can select. The red ones you have to select, the black ones you should select. So the chapter is, for example, Building Smart. The approval body is also Building Smart. You could have here the BSI rooms. You have different organizations. You should always add what kind of sector your use case is in. You can also, of course, add more sectors. So this is possible. You can say, okay, what kind of life cycle you're in. So, for example, here design. Stakeholder and the BIM users are also possible to select. If you did this selection, this will help actually to find a use case later on the website, because these are the tags where you can really look for. So these are the tags. And then you have the possibility to add an imprint. On the imprint, sometimes it's really interesting to see who worked on this use case. And here again, you can select from the list, and you could also add some non-registered members. If you have partners who supported this use case, you have to inform your local administration to upload a logo from your partners. then you can really select from this list. The handling and copyrights are pre-filled. You can change that, but I do not recommend that. Let's press save to finalize the first metadata section here. So now we have everything in our metadata section filled. So the use case is ready to start. To start a use case, choose here definitions. The references here up here, you can select some sources, for example, from Zen, a source, which is here, or from ISO. Maybe it's better to explain it here. Then you have different standards from ISO, and you could select this one here if this is appropriate to your use case. So you see here, you selected ISO 9650, for example, and this information is added to the use case. Then now, the general part is really the description of the use case. And it's always very simple. You have here text fields. Of course, you can add some links, you can add some pictures. This is always possible. The reason behind this platform is really that you always use the same structure, meaning you cannot change these fields, but you can leave them empty. If they are empty, so no text inside, they will not be displayed once you publish the use cases. So let's start with fill in some text. So basically you can do that. Description, aim scope, objectives, limitations. We have also the possibility to make a reference to other use cases, for example. And then you can say, okay, I select this one because these two use cases are related to each other. You can add some references, you can add some abbreviations, and you can upload images or you can upload documents. So this is the first section of the use case. As mentioned, if a field is empty, it will not be displayed. But so you see here now, this is the description part of the use case. If you want to continue now to the process description, you have to select what kind of disciplines you want to use. So go to the menu button, edit here on the disciplines. You see it's OmniClass table 33, and you have the possibilities to click through this OmniClass here. I do not recommend to go into too detailed, be or describe a use case as generic as possible. We select for our use case, we select architectures, and we take here, for example, the cost estimation as disciplines. You can save that. And maybe you're going to say, okay, that's good, but I don't have my discipline. I didn't find my discipline. So you can add some custom disciplines up here. So let's say we have no BIM management. So we simply write BIM management as a discipline. And so you would have then later on these custom disciplines for selection. In the last step, you have to say what kind of life cycle stages are mandatory for your use case. So here we are in the 22263, and then you can select, for example, like take a simple example, we simply take the design phase. If we save that, we are ready for the next stage to describe the process definition. Process definition you find here, and now what you see here, you have a description, an overall description, and you can describe every stage. Let's go back and add an additional stage, for example. So we say, okay, I need also a brief, for example, here. I'm going to save it. And once I save it, I go back to process definition. You see here the life cycle stages. The brief and design phase are here. You can open this one. There's also a description part and so on. There is also a possibility to add some design rules. Now I show you how to create a description. So for the process definition, first of all, click here on edit. You can also write again a short description about this process. And you can also upload a picture here. So this is really recommended that you upload a picture. You go here, browse, and then you select a picture. And I recommend always to do the width to 800. 800 is really your width of the document is filled in a nice way. So select the width. And now we have this picture here from the process. What we also could do, we could implement, if you like, you can implement also a link, for example. We have here an URL, a very long URL from Draw.io. You can say, okay, this is my diagram, and now this link is really displayed here. So if you have embedded data, you could also upload, of course, if you have a PDF file from this one, from this document, and then you save it. Takes a short second. Now you see here you have the link to the diagram. So we have a flow chart in here. This is from Draw.io, but there are a lot of other different BPMN tools on the market you could use. And we have the PDF here. So the PDF, of course, gives you a download. Now we start with the description. So let's say, okay, this would be the design phase. We open the design phase and start to edit the design phase. You see, we had different activities here. For each activity, you can add a text block. So we say text block, and what you see here, depending on the activity, if it's activity, if it's event, an exchange requirement, a gateway, you have to select the right text block. So we say, okay, activity number 1, we have then an exchange requirement. Then you add an exchange requirement. And this is important that you take this one because the exchange requirements are according to the LOIN standard. We choose some more text block, then we, for example, have a gateway and the last activity. You can give them a number, 1.1, the air 1, for example, 1.2, 1.3, and of course you could also give a different name for this activity. And then you save it. And you see here now for the design stage, you have different text blocks. And then you can, of course, do a description for this. For example, the activity here, number 1, you give a short description. You can give a headline, activity 1.11, for example, activity. And you can again give an explanation what is done here, or this is sorry, this is a document. If you would have a document. Sorry again. And then what you have to do, otherwise you cannot save this text block here. You have to select the discipline, and you have already chosen the disciplines. So you take architectures, for example. Also, again, here you can add some references and sources. I do another example for the exchange requirements. The exchange requirements are different. I told you before, the exchange requirements are according to the level of information need standard, LOIN. And you see here, again, a basic description, and then you have the geometric information, you have alphanumeric information, you have documentation, you have business requirements, and information constraint. And again, here, because it's an information exchange, you have two disciplines. So meaning, again, we say, okay, now it's between cost estimation and the BIM management. And you see here, the BIM management was not in the table 33 from Omni class, but you created a custom discipline. So simply select this custom discipline, and here you will find the BIM management. Okay, write some text again here, and then click Save. And with that, you, of course, can describe a whole a BPNN diagram in very detail, depending on your requirements. And if we expand all, you see here, the description is here. So very easy, actually, to create a process definition. On the process definition, as an additional menu, you will find the design rules. Of course, again, if this is mandatory for you, then you have to write a design rule, but maybe you don't need a design rule. But here, again, you write some text, you add some files. And also up here, for example, if the PDF file should have a page break, you can add here a page break to the section here. And let's save it. Now we have a complete process description. So let's jump to the exchange requirements. On the exchange requirements, basically we add simply a list. Of course, again, you can add some text, but normally you would upload just a document here. Again, for example, Excel file. This could be possible. So you see here, we have created an Excel file, save it, and then you can, again, the Excel file, for example, here is displayed. Yeah, this is what you need actually to describe a use case. You could also add some more information about tools and service, software tools and services. Again, here you have a short description about what kind of software you're going to use. And then you can, again, add some text block. You say software number 1, for example, and you make a description about this software. You could add some more text blocks if you need, or if this use case is supported by additional use cases, software tools, sorry. Then you save. And basically now we are finished with the use case. Let's go to check this use case. We go back to group number 3. And all your group members, they will have, for example, the possibility to read this use case. And this is then displayed, so everybody can read this use case here, but you cannot really change something. But the possibility is that you could add some comments. If you are a member of this group, you can add a comment. Write your comment and submit it, so the project leader of your use case can read this comment and yeah, make the adaptation on the use case itself. So this is it. It's really quite straightforward to create a use case. What do you have to do if you like to publish this use case? If it's finished, then simply call your local administrator. The administrator is entitled to publish the use case. The project manager cannot do that because we like to check the quality of the use case first prior to publication. So that's it.
Thank you for watching this use case management training webinar. A service by Building Smart International.